Good evening, guys. Welcome to Football Brownie. Hope you're all well. Keeping safe, keeping each other safe, and spreading love during this pandemic. Because, say, we all need a little bit of loving, don't we?
Oh, mate, especially at the moment. It's hard
Please
times, bro.
please like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Because without your help, the channel cannot progress. We're also teaming up with Alan and the guys at the Way Day Apparel. Get you guys ready, get your clobber ready for when everyone's allowed back into football. It'll be in the job description. I just done my normal work and say, Football Brownie. Get you 10% off at capital F, capital B, capital W. Yeah, all along the bottom there. Today I got a very special guest. A very long-term YouTube friend. In fact, probably my first YouTube friend.
Indeed.
No other than Simon from A.C.E Podcast Nation. Even if you're not a Cardiff City fan, check out his channel. Wrestling, MMA. What other podcasts you got, say?
So we got we got 3 weekly shows. So we got the weekly football show on a Monday with Andy Campbell, which we do, me and Andy, and then plus a guest. So it's like last week we had Kenwyn Jones on. We've had all sorts of people like Danny Gavitt on. We've had a couple of current players like Charlie Adam and that. Then Wednesday we do the MMA and boxing with myself and former Cage Warriors champion Danny Batten. And we have a guest like a fighter or a coach or someone join us, and we talk about the latest stuff from the fighting world. And then Friday we have a championship show, and then on a Sunday I tend to put out whatever series I'm making at the time. So we've had, for instance, conspiracy theories, mental health in sport, what else we had? Got serial killer files, all sorts of stuff, mate. And we got loads of stuff coming. And then every other week I do a wrestling one with post-wrestling journalist Andrew Thompson as well, which is always a good crack, mate. Always a good crack. Lots of podcasts, mate.
I tell you what, so you come on since last time we spoke anyway. Going into the chat for a minute before we go any further. So, Maximus says to be out holler.
Yeah, there we go. Every time without fail, mate.
Yeah, no problem, mate. No problem. Right. Well, when was it? About 12 months ago, so wasn't it?
When you come on my channel?
Yeah,
I think about a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago, and we told the story of Brownie. That was good. It was a good laugh, mate. We had a good crack. You sat in
I know.
That shows how times have changed, mate. Because you were sat in the bar, having a few beers, and
I know.
We had a good old chat.
I would love that to happen again. I tell you, how's the shutdown cope? How are you coping with the shutdown?
Well, for me, mate, don't bother me, right? Because all my stuff I do from home anyway. So my podcast is all from home anyway. Like we are looking in the future to get a studio and sort of do it a bit more in-person stuff, and going to do some live shows in some pubs and clubs and whatever. But generally I do everything, all my interviews, all my podcasts, it's all from home. So from that side of it, I haven't really made much difference to me, other than people are more available to do podcasts, interviews and stuff because they want something to pass the time. The hardest thing for me is I got 3 teenagers, mate, and they're doing my boxing.
Well, fair enough. Listen, I know you from being a Cardiff fan.
Indeed.
So how long ago you started going down City side?
Oh God! So I went, started going first of all with my old man when I was younger, just on and off in the old family enclosure, and then I think probably when I was like a teenager, just going with my mates, and it kind of progressed from there. I'd say late 90s to the early 2000s, sort of 2010s was my peak. And then after the rebrand, mate, as you know, I stopped going.
Yeah, me and you both. Hey.
And I've been back twice, I think, since I took my son, my youngest son, wanted to go to a game for his birthday last year, or not last year, 2019. So we went, and it was all right. Like Ian G loved it, and if he wants to go, I will take him and stuff. But the fact is, my habits changed, mate. So I went from I used to go, when I got married in 2008, me and my missus used to we used to go together to the football because she's the same as me. She was brought up on it. She used to go when she was a kid. So when we got together, it wasn't like I had to make a choice between seeing my missus on a Saturday or going to the football, because she was going to the football anyway, mate. So I was lucky. And then, we had kids and stuff, but we still would go most Saturdays because we were lucky. Like my in-laws would have the kids and that. And then, rebrand come around and some stuff, and just my habits changed, mate. My kids got a bit older.
It's part of growing up.
It's
part of growing up. Okay, so you've been going, over 20 years then, yeah?
Oh, yeah, God, I'm 39. First game was... Well, I'm 40 this year, so yeah, my first game was probably when I was about 9 or 10, so...
So who's your favourite City player?
Of all time? Oof.
Both of all time and live.
So, Jason Kumas is one of my favourite City players of all time, just because I feel like the man is vastly underrated. And also, I like him because since he's quit football, he wants nothing to do with football either. No. I love that. Even makes me love him even more.
No one's found him since.
That's it, mate.
He's in a cave somewhere.
Yeah, he's hiding away somewhere. I'm sure he's in North Wales somewhere. But like, I don't know. There's a few, like Cohen Griffith is one of my all-time favourites. Who else we got? Cav, obviously, like, of all the interviews I've done with City players, like, speaking to, who were the ones where I was really excited, like Dec Brazil, I was excited to speak to him. I was excited to speak to Gabs. Gabs was wicked because he gave us like 2 hours of his time, and it was massive for me personally, and I was a little bit nervous, like, but not too bad because I'd done a lot of shows by then. But like, it was a big deal for me personally to have him on the show. And mate, it was like you felt like you'd known him for 20 years. He was so easygoing and just such a laid back guy, and his stories were funny and that. But it's difficult to pick like one player. Cav is probably up there. Cav is up there, mate. I sort of like, I could probably give you one from each era, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I tell you, I do like, mate. Sorry to interrupt you. Is Chopper and Bothroyd, mate, as a duo, was they were right up there for me. They were like probably the best Cardiff City partnership we've had since Carl Dale and Chris Pike, mate. Used to love watching them play.
Phil Stant, come on.
Stant, Kurt Nogan.
Listen. So what made you start to do? Was it the shutdown regarding the podcast or what?
So with that, like, I'd done a couple of wrestling podcasts because a friend of mine owns one of the biggest wrestling and MMA websites in North America, in Fightful. And on their Patreon, where it's like a member's site, so you pay like to be a member, and one of the higher tiers you got to do a podcast with them. And I was like, I fancied that. I'd always wanted to do a podcasting or something with YouTube or something, but I just kind of, life just got in the way, mate, and I just kind of put it off. And it's like, I would like to try it, and then obviously I had a car accident in 2008, which was a couple of weeks after my birthday, after my wedding, and my back was fucked. Like I had a spinal fusion and that. And I had life-changing injuries, which made me have to completely reevaluate what I was doing. And then about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I was kind of at this point where my physical health I was just in pain all the time. My mental health was getting worse and worse because I was so frustrated and angry. I needed to do something. And I had done a couple of those wrestling podcasts, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. So I just set up a YouTube channel, and I just did it, and it's hard. People don't realize like the amount of work which goes in.
Oh, I agree.
Behind the scenes, they think you just turn up, you talk, and that's it. Like, there's so much goes into it, and it can be so demoralizing, mate. Like, obviously, like probably the last 6 months, it has kicked off a little bit, like, but trying to hit the first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube was, some days, is soul destroying because you put so much work, time, effort into it, and it feels like you're just not going anywhere sometimes. And then, like, it's weird. It took, I think, about 18 months to get to 1,000, and then we got to 1,000 subscribers just before Christmas, just gone, and like that was a big deal for me. It's not big for, you know, I know there's people doing thousands of views and millions of subscribers, but for someone who's just you know, does it on his own and like independent, got no funding, I just do it off my own back. Like that was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
But then,
yeah.
so what are we in now? We're like February and we're already like over 2,000 subscribers. So it took like 18 months to get 1,000 subscribers, and then probably 3-4 months, if that, to get the next 1,000. So hopefully it'll keep growing, mate. But ultimately, like, I just do it because I enjoy it, and I get to, you know, I do shows with my friends, and we get to chat to some of the biggest names in football and the UFC and stuff. Like, we've had some massive fighters on there as well, so it's cool, mate.
Well, sorry, I don't know if you would agree, but you know, during the lockdown, you know, I'm over here in Spain, which we've had tougher lockdowns than back in the UK. I can assure you that.
Oh yeah.
But YouTube has helped me mentally, absolutely.
I believe
to levels I could never explain, honestly. Just by talking to somebody, whether it's online or not, it helps a hell of a lot with your mental health. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, mate, it gives you something to just something to focus on, mate, as well. Because do you know what, right? Is if you're just stuck at home and you're going to work and then you can't leave your house, you're literally just stuck in your house. Just having someone like jumping online, doing a live stream like this, having a chat with someone, it gives you something to focus on. And I think like people sometimes forget, like, not everyone is happy. Like me, I'm quite happy with my own company, and you know, to a certain extent, like I can go a couple of days without really speaking to many people because I can, you know, I'll get lost in editing or whatever it may be. But like some people, they, you know, if you're someone who goes to see mates or goes to the pub every night or pops over his mates a couple of times a week, you know, just to do the rounds and see people, and then suddenly you're told you're not allowed to go out the house, that can have a massive effect on like your mental health real quick. And I'd be really I'm kind of apprehensive to see the suicide stats when we get to like the end of all this COVID shit. Like I'm worried about how many people won't have made it through because they just haven't been able to cope with the stress of it all.
I absolutely agree, and you know, I'd rather not go down the conspiracy route side, but
it is what it is, mate.
I think they hide in certain figures for a reason in which we both know. Okay, right, going back to Cardiff.
Oh, go on, man. Let's go.
Come on. How did you first get to know? Many people wouldn't know that you were show with Andy Campbell, Cardiff legend. How did you first get to know Andy Campbell?
So, the pub where I used to drink in Rada, where my missus used to work, and is where all the Cardiff players, they all used to live up that way, and so a lot of them used to go in there drinking, and I'd kind of met him a couple of times when I was younger, just to say hello to or whatever, and then I contacted him when I started doing the podcast on the channel, and I just said, "Oh, would you come on and do an interview or whatever?" Was chuffed with that. I was just happy with that, and then we got on really well in the interview, but also like talking like afterwards. Like we ended up talking, I think, for about half hour, 40 minutes after it finished, and I just kind of kept in touch with him and texted him, and then I was just thinking of ideas for different podcast series, and I sort of said to him, "Oh, mate, there's not really many championship shows around. We both love a championship. Do you fancy doing like a weekly show on it?" And obviously it's evolved a little bit from like when we first started it. It was like a 2-hour show every Wednesday, and it was a lot to take in for people, I think, because you're just talking about every game in loads of detail, and that's hard to take in when you haven't got the highlights, to watch. It's difficult, isn't it, to watch someone for 2 hours just talk. So we've changed it. Like when lockdown came, for instance, there was no football, was there, in the first lockdown? So we said, right. So I said, well, should we get some guests and stuff? Obviously, between the two of us, we know a few sort of ex-footballers and whatever. Let's go down that route. And then that's how it kind of split off then into two. So obviously we got the Monday, we have a guest with the football show, and then Friday is the championship show, and we've kind of condensed the championship show down to about an hour, and we kind of just fly through all the championship stuff. But obviously I do a show with Kev McNaughton as well, which is every other week, where it's called Super Kev Unscripted, which is back on Friday. It's a right laugh because we just have a couple of beers, and what we wanted with that is I wanted people to like see Kev for what he is, like see Kev for who he is, like not just Kev the footballer. Like he's so funny and he's such a nice guy. So we don't set any sort of script or subjects and stuff. We just leave it to the people, and we'll literally just talk about anything. And it's always, I highly advise it, not even just for Cardiff fans, just for if you just need something to take your mind off lockdown and just the day-to-day crap of it all, because it's just a good laugh, and it's always good fun.
So, okay, Mick McCarthy, were you before your appointment, say, were you pro or against his?
I was fuming, mate. There's a video which was cut from a championship show. It's like 12 minutes of me just ranting about it.
Me too.
And I saw, like, look, my problem wasn't so much with Mick McCarthy. My problem was with Cardiff. Like, they got it felt like a lack of direction. It felt very chaotic. It felt like there was no long-term plan again. And it just felt like another one of these managers who just does the rounds. But what I will say, I've seen like you and a couple of other people saying, I eated a bit of humble pie. And I said, I am to a certain degree. But what I will say is I've learned with Cardiff, it's just as good as it's gone in these last 5-6 games. It could also go very bad very quick.
Yeah.
So I'm going to withhold judgment till the end of the season. But my worry, and me and Andy talked about this, was when he was appointed, is it's not so much that they've appointed him to the end of the season. My worry is that when you have a new manager, you often get that lift of a few good games. Yeah. There's not that much of the season left. They will then give him a 2 or 3 year contract. And that was what I was more concerned with, because long term, I don't necessarily think Mick McCarthy's the answer to Cardiff City getting back to where they want to be. Him as a experienced head above a younger manager, maybe at the end of the season, I'd be more inclined to.
But to be honest, Shay, that's very similar to where I was again from. Through YouTube and through social media, you had like Ipswich fans getting in contact, you had Wolves fans getting in contact, and all of them were saying, look, yeah, while he was there, no problem at all. But the moment he left, the place became a shambles, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ipswich haven't returned to League One ever since the season after he left. That's just so. I don't know. Giving him a 6-month contract and knowing that the parachute payments will be also ended in 6 months. I know that's the worry. That is the worry in which I got.
The thing is, they haven't really spent much of that parachute money anyway. Like when we had Mehmet Dalman on the football show, and that was a big deal for us, by the way, because like Mehmet Dalman doesn't do any media, so to be able to get him was awesome. And scars. So we got Mehmet Dalman on, and he told us this was in the first lockdown, and he said that Cardiff City were losing £3 million a month, just through wages, lack of fans, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
They've since then they signed Kiefer Moore. They sold a couple of players as well, but they fired Nathaniel Mendez-Lang as well. But overall, if you look at what the outlay of money, they haven't spent that parachute money, and it's gone now. At the end of the season is pretty much that's it. like I say, mate, long term, I don't know if Mick McCarthy's the answer. However, it's a results game, mate, and you can't
Yeah,
argue with his
no, you're right.
results.
You are right. You are right.
They
I don't.
were looking like relegation fodder, mate,
Yeah.
before he came in, and now they're back up by the playoffs. So, you
Say
can't knock him.
it just shows just how close the championship is, and a couple of wins,
Yeah.
and they
Oh,
all of a
100%,
sudden
mate.
they hit in almost the playoffs.
Well, I think one of your viewers there, I think Leslie, has just said like
Yeah.
Eddie Howe would have been his choice, and that he was my pick. I thought from a footballing point of view, because that's the thing with Cardiff, they need a change of direction in the way they play as well. Like if you look at the last few managers, even going back as far as Malky Mackay, they all play the same way. That very kind of sturgic kind of direct football. It's all very similar. Warnock plays the same. Neil Harris was playing the same. They need a change of direction, I believe, to get the best out of their players. But going back to it, mate,
I know. But
Mick McCarthy's doing a job, mate.
Do you think? I don't think there have been many teams who have played a passing style of football and got themselves out of the championship.
No, but you don't have to play Barcelona-style football to play. Like I'm just on about not playing long ball, just like play the channels and this sort of tactic all the time, because they've got better footballers than that. They've got good footballers. You don't have to play tiki-taka football to be playing football. What, in my opinion, is the right way. Look, I'm not saying I'm right. It's just my belief,
Exactly.
maybe as a Cardiff fan, mate, I've just had enough of like that type of football. And I'd like to see something different.
I agree. But the rumours was that Eddie Howe, I think, actually turned it down, didn't he?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, mate, because like ultimately, if Cardiff were like third or fourth in the league and they were bang up there, then maybe he would have taken it. But they weren't, and he probably would have been looking at a bigger job. Let's be honest. Yeah. There was a couple of guys who I would have taken above Mick McCarthy. The guy who was at Luton last year and nearly kept him up, I thought would have been a good shout until the end of the season. But apparently he wanted like a 2 or 3 year deal to build something, which you can't knock him for that. No. But he did a ridiculously good job at Luton on no money, nearly kept him up from an impossible position. But ultimately, mate, like I say, Mick McCarthy's doing the business at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, Shai, I know you're not Mystic Meg.
Yeah.
So where do you think he'll finish then?
Mm-hmm. So I said probably a couple of weeks back that I was worried that Cardiff might get dragged into the relegation because just the way they were playing, they didn't have no confidence. Like, I do feel like it's like a week ago, I think I said, someone asked the same question. I said, it'll go either one way or the other. They'll either be right down in the relegation battle, but they'll probably stay up, or they'll just probably miss out on playoffs. I think they might be like going for the playoffs on the last day, but I don't think we've got enough depth of game changers to really challenge. Like when you look at the teams at the top of the league, they're all playing phenomenally well, but they've all got quite big squads. Cardiff, outside of maybe their first 12 or 13 players, are not that deep in talent, in players who you can turn to and say, right, go and get me a goal, go and change the game, go and do something. Like Tomlin's, I think, coming back to fitness, he's one of those players, but it's whether will he stay fit ultimately.
Well, two things on that side. The first one is, look, hindsight is a great thing, yeah? Right? But I think the change from Harris to McCarthy may have been a week or two too late. Possibly, in my opinion.
I could see that, yeah.
And another thing as well, Thierry Henry, possibly, if he is Bournemouth manager, I can see that as being an absolute PR job, which will go tits up.
Yeah.
And if it was one position in our playoffs in which Cardiff could take it's Bournemouth's position if they employ Thierry Henry. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I do tend to agree that he wouldn't. If I was a Bournemouth player, a Bournemouth fan, sorry, I'd be concerned with that appointment. Look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm saying that I wanted Cardiff to employ like a younger manager, someone with a bit of flexibility. My choice when they appointed Neil Harris was Lee Bowyer. I wanted Lee Bowyer, and I was told at the time that it was pretty much done. And then all of a sudden, the next day, they had appointed Harris, and I know from a very good source that Lee Bowyer thought he had the job. And then I think it was a financial thing, which ultimately meant that he didn't. And I know a lot of Cardiff fans were like, "Oh, Lee Bowyer, don't want him." But like, if you look at the way he's played with Charlton, and what I like about him is he will change his tactics accordingly. He very often will make a substitution which changes the game, or he'll change his formation to play if he's playing a certain team. And that's what I want to see, mate. There's a bit of tactical nous and a bit of cleverness, which is lacking sometimes.
That's fair enough. Oh, go on.
Reading, though, mate. I do think Cardiff could potentially take Reading or anyone, because I think when you look at the table, mate, I think Barnsley are playing well at 10 who are 10th. Borough were playing well, but when you look at the Stoke squad, like, they just haven't been able to get it together in the last couple of years. But if you told me, like, if you could see into the future and you told me that Stoke went on a 10-game winning run to end the season and finished in the playoffs, I wouldn't not believe you, because their squad is full of, former international players. But I think Reading and Bournemouth are the two teams that the teams below should have their eyes on, because I believe the top four will finish in the top four, just depending on the order.
So who were you thinking automatic then?
I don't want to answer that question, mate. What I will say is Brentford will go up, and
oh, for fuck's sake, I know.
It'll be Brentford and one other.
Oh, well, the problem Norwich had was when Buendia got suspended, wasn't it? 3 games or whatever. And then all of a sudden, they bloody collapsed.
Well, I think as well, they've had... sometimes in the Championship, it's about having your peak and your run of games at the right time. And often the team which has a good run over Christmas, which then pushes on in the second half of the season. And I wonder whether Norwich have had their sort of big run too early, because obviously at the start of the season they looked like they were just going to keep winning and winning. But Brentford, I think it'll be them and either Norwich or the other ones.
I love it. I love your answer this. Right, going back to your podcast. Where do you want to be in about say a year's time and 2 years' time, podcast wise?
It's weird. So we know that, for instance, for the Andy Campbell football show, which is the one with the guests, we know that there's certain broadcasters or platforms like keeping an eye on it and watching it, because we know that because they subscribe and they follow and they tell us so. But if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have been like, well, the dream is to get the Andy Campbell football show on the radio, or the Championship show, get it on the radio, whether it's like a Talk Sport or Give Me Sport radio, something like that, get paid some nice money to do what we do anyway. But I like the freedom of being I'm in control of everything. My biggest problem is just having the time to do everything, edit it all, put the posts out, because obviously I release at least 4 shows a week, if not more. And in between that, I'm trying to edit them, do them, and also post about them, advertise them. And then, as well as that, I'm trying to do more shows and interviews and stuff like this. So it is a bit difficult to juggle it all. But I just wanted to keep growing, mate, keep growing. And what I love about it is the community which we've built around it. Like the Facebook page for A.C.E Podcast Nation, I think it's got something like 10,500 followers.
Oh, great.
So just all the people on there, I think I've had to ban one person in nearly 2 years.
But I didn't do anything, Si. I didn't do anything.
Well, I just... But do you know what I mean? Like, to have that many people
Yeah.
following the page, and only have had one person really who was being a problem, and that was he had a personal problem with someone who had been on the channel. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't anything to do with me. He just had a big problem with someone and decided he was gonna voice it constantly in the chats and stuff. But it's so like, everyone gets on, and it's the same sort of group of people going into the live shows and commenting, and they're all mates now. Like, they're all chatting away, and yeah, it's good. It's good community, mate. But it's a difficult question, mate, because I like having control of it all. But
Yeah, that's what I was going to come back on when you mentioned about possible broadcasters. Is
yeah,
it,
it's
because the thing what then stood out straight away was what was that bloody film years ago? What's that film where they done the like TV show in a shed? Oh, well, fucking hell, what's that film? Not Bill and Ted, is it? Or something like that?
Wayne's World, is it?
Wayne's Road, that's right, you got it. At the
Classic,
moment,
mate.
classic. You can go down the end of, on the road to Roos, pull over, and when a plane goes over, you can get on top of your car. Right? Right? No, but that was a clear example. The moment it goes corporate, that's when you lose
control of it, don't you? Look, mate, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. Like, I love what I do. I love that I'm in control of it. I love doing it. It's amazing. But I've also spent a lot of money setting it up. I've also spent money every month for podcast hosts, and like the hosting and the audio versions and stuff like this. And I want to, like, ultimately, I want to get paid money to do it, so that I can pay my bills and pay for my kids, but that's the dream, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? However that comes about.
As Jay Maguire used to say, show me the money.
Damn straight, mate. And, like, we've got sponsors on the football show, and we got a couple of sponsors, and I'm speaking to some sponsors now for some of the other shows. And, like, ultimately, that's if I can get sponsors for the various series or the channel overall, which pay me enough to pay my bills and do this, and obviously give the different hosts their cuts and stuff. Like, I'm happy, mate. I don't. When I say, like, the dream is to be on the radio or whatever, or take it onto, like, something like that. Like, yes, I think that was initially, but if I can keep doing it the way we're doing it, but keep improving it, keep getting bigger guests, get a studio built and done, and do it that way, and do it myself, and do it, like, between and me, me, Andy, Kev, Danny, and the other guys who help out. Like, if we can do it ourselves and get paid and do it that way, that's what we'll do, mate. Because, like,
everyone's a winner then. Everyone's a winner then, say.
Yeah, and the other thing is, mate, is like, so for instance, like the Super Kev unscripted one, that's not one for I like the football show. I do tend to try my best not to swear and stuff like that. I keep it kind of PG friendly, mate.
I struggle.
But, like, Super Kev unscripted is that it is unscripted, uncensored, it's over 18s, like, and I make that clear. You can't do that if you're on wherever.
Yeah. No. Well, hopefully the guys in which will be watching this or in the chat will come over to you and
check it out,
and help make your dreams come true.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. And just got to find those sponsors, mate. This thing is, mate, it's weird, isn't it? Right? So, going back to what we were saying about YouTube, like the struggle early on when you're trying to get subscribers and you just want to get your videos viewed by people, because, like, I was always confident that if I could get my podcasts with various top guests in front of people, I was quite confident that people would watch it.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that when you haven't got many subscribers and views on YouTube, you can't, like, YouTube doesn't push you. So you've got to do it all yourself and find a way to find people on social media and stuff like this, and word of mouth.
Yeah.
But when you start, as soon as I hit 1,000 subscribers, YouTube started pushing my channel more. As soon as I've hit 2,000, they're pushing it even more.
Right.
It's almost backwards, like. So, I think the video, the show which has got the most views on the channel, I think it's got about 14,000 views, which is a show me and Andy did over Christmas. And ironically, we didn't have a guest. It was just a show there. We did like a review of the year, talking about football and stuff like that. And as soon as that show hit 5,000 views, it just kept going up and up and up and up. And I wasn't even posting it places. And it was just because YouTube was suggesting it to other people. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing for new channels or channels which are still trying to build themselves up.
Oh, tell me about
it. What you do, mate, like, it's impossible, because what you need YouTube to suggest your videos to people so that you can find people who are interested in whatever your show is about. But if they're not doing it because your channel's not big enough, what are you going to do?
And I found, because I do a lot of editing, I like going back into the good old days of watching football, right? Going, showing the old games and, trying to describe a situation at a time. Like yesterday, I was doing that 89 Arsenal-Liverpool league decider at Anfield,
Yeah.
But it seems to me that the more work I put into a video, the less views I'm getting. Whereas if I just talking to a bloody mobile phone without any clip in anything, you are like this fucking arse over backwards, really.
It's infuriating, mate, because like I've had shows where I've had, like, say, a guest on, and I won't say which guests it was.
No, it's fair.
But I've had a show where I've thought, wow, this is the one now. This is the one which is going to, like, really get eyes on. Top guest, wicked. People are going to see this. And then I'll put it out, all edited up nice, looks the bollocks. And then it'll do all right, but it's not. And I'll be like, what? I just don't get it. And then I'll have another one where the guest is really interesting to me and to people. And I think, oh, yeah, this will be a really interesting show. But I won't necessarily expecting it to, like, do really well. I think it's going to be an interesting show, and it did really well. And I was like, well, there's no fucking rhyme or reason to this.
No, exactly.
Just do it and see what happens. And you just got to keep cracking away, mate.
Well, I hope that when I was a guest, I got you a few views anyway.
Yeah, you did all right that one, mate. people wanted to hear what you were going to say, weren't they? Obviously, we told your story from start to finish, pretty much, mate. And it was a good show, mate. I really enjoyed it because obviously, like, I knew who you were and kind of knew who you sort of maybe to say hello to, but that was about it. And, like, obviously, we had a good, I think, about an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hour chat.
Yeah, that's right.
We started, from your childhood all the way up to modern day, and, like, we talked about all the different things you've had you've been involved in and stuff. And it was interesting, mate. Go on, mate.
I can't fucking remember doing it.
Well, it's because I was going to say yeah, but that was the thing, mate. Because the start of it, you were quite, you were like a little bit not nervous, but like you were a bit apprehensive. You didn't know what to expect.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
Me and you weren't, we weren't tight or anything, so you didn't know what to expect from me. You didn't know what to expect from a show. So it's going to be like you're always going to be like a bit apprehensive, in you, because you don't know how it's going to go. But what I do like to think is whoever I speak to and whenever I have a guest or I interview someone, is it doesn't take long before they feel comfortable. Because to me, we're just having a chat, like, it's
I'll be honest with you, Si. You are one of the YouTubers in which I look up to, because basically I want to get to that comfort level. I'm still not doing it now. Earlier on I done a podcast with Jake. From West Ham.
Oh yeah, I saw that earlier.
Right, and I'm getting too nervous. I want to get to your kind of level, the comfort level, the confidence level, because I do look up to you guys, and I'd love to follow in your footsteps.
Well, like my advice. So like when I look back at my first few shows, I cringe. I hate it because I can see how uncomfortable I am and how nervous I am. Like, but my advice, mate, honestly, is like just relax and just talk as if you were talking on the phone, talking in person, and just you want it like, it's just obviously just my opinion, like, but I
No,
wanted
that's fair enough.
all my shows, all my interviews to feel like a conversation rather than question,
Yeah.
answer, question, answer.
Yeah.
So it's like this formal thing, because if you're interviewing footballers or actors or bands or whoever, they're used to just having question, answer, question, answer.
Yeah.
They got to say they roll out the same questions, the same cliches. If you have a conversation with someone, you get a feel for them. You get to know what they're like. That's when you get those little stories and those little tidbits. So, for instance, when we spoke to Kenwyn Jones on Monday, we were talking about the rebrand and just like the pressure, that the additional pressure that it put on the players, because suddenly you had this big divide between the fans and the club, and then the football team is trying to stay up in the Premier League, and he was talking about that. And then what he slipped in as he was talking about it was that when Solskjaer came in, the board and the chief executive and stuff, they were telling Solskjaer who to play, what tactics to play, how to play, and like I didn't know that personally. So for that to come up, I was like, and if you watch the show back, once he says it, I'm like, oh, okay. And I kind of delved into it then. But if we had just been asking like questions, what do you think of the rebrand? He would have just said, and then that would have been it. But because it was a rolling conversation and it's natural, it just goes where it goes. Do you see what I mean?
Perfect. Like, yeah. No, what you mean.
It's the best way I can explain it, mate. And I'm not the best at explaining
Well,
this.
hey, listen, Si. I'm sure on behalf of everybody watching this and myself, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you,
and good luck for the future.
Top man.
I'm gonna
Appreciate it, mate.
No worries, mate. No worries. I'm gonna have to knock you on your head now. Basically, because I'm out of red wine.
There we go, mate. That's it. Let me ask you a question, then, Brownie, quickly, about Welsh football. So recently, Dan James had scored a couple of goals for United again. Do you think? Yeah, he scored tonight and he scored the other week. Do you think if he can continue that, get a bit of confidence, he could be a big player for Wales in the Euros, mate? Or do you think his stint at United has done irreparable damage to his confidence and his mentality?
Right. Listen, I've always been anti-social anyway. Anti-Solskjaer anyway, right? Yeah. Because of what he done at Cardiff. But what I do not like about what Solskjaer has done to Dan James is that he's been chucking him on the right-hand side. He's been playing him out of position for over a year most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, just because he wanted to accommodate Rashford, Martial, on the left-hand side and in the centre. Dan James, we know Dan James has been basically on the left for Wales, on the left for Swansea, and that's where he got recognised.
Yeah.
You don't play him. You don't sign him and play him on the right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is it. With United, they've signed so badly that they still haven't got a right winger, so they are having to play him or Rashford or Martial or Greenwood, whoever it may be, and that's again. I go back to lack of planning, mate. Well, if you've got these players, or if you need certain players.
Yeah, go on, mate. Sorry.
If you need certain players, or you need a right winger, like Cardiff needed a right back for how long, and they've only recently signed one. Yeah, like they've needed a right back for years. To me, that's piss poor. Like that's lack of planning, lack of organisation and forward thinking, which any football club, no matter how much money or what your standing is in football, what league you're in. The basic thing is like organisation and forward planning. Where are we going in the future? Where do we want to get to? How are we going to get there? So you look at your squad. If you're in work, mate, if you're a team leader, you look at your team and you look at their strengths. What do we need to do to improve? What do we need to do to make things better? And I just think Solskjaer doesn't do that particularly well. I think he got lucky with Bruno Fernandes, mind.
Yeah, very much so. Right, listen, Gaz has come in and said, "Who's on your show on Monday?" Go on,
No,
go
mate.
on,
I
promote, brother, promote.
Right, so tomorrow night we got a championship show where we're going to tell you who the guest is. So I can't tell you who the guest is going to be. What I can tell you exclusively, just for you, Brownie, is that it is a Cardiff City legend who I have mentioned in the show today. That's all I could tell you. But if you want to know who it is, we're announcing it tomorrow on the championship show live, 7 o'clock, A.C.E Podcast Nation, and yeah, join us.
I hope it's not the guy who just sent me loads of fucking humble pie. I tell ya.
No, it's not. No, Cav's been on already.
I know.
We already had him.
No worries. Hey, listen, Si, thank you very, very much. And hey, let's do this. 12 months is too long.
We'll do it again, mate.
Don't be a stranger. Mate. Don't be a stranger.
Yeah, mate. Anytime you want me on, you drop me a text, mate, and if I can fit it in, I'll always do it, mate. Always. Even if I can do like 20 minutes here and there, I'll come in and say hello. But like I love doing podcasts, mate. I've enjoyed tonight straight away, like 45 minutes. Love it. Yeah. I told you the other day, mate, when we were speaking on text, like I can talk bollocks.
Oh, I know.
Do it for a living, so I can talk about football. I can talk about whatever you want to talk about, and I can talk and talk and talk.
Right,
so
listen.
Anytime.
Before we go, yeah. James said we'll have to do your Ayatollah before we leave.
Oh, Costley's in the house. There we go, James Costley. Always
no worries.
The same.
Listen, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for watching. Please subscribe to A.C.E Podcast Nation.
Yes.
And subscribe to Football Brownie. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.